And welcome back to the Oklahoman's Election 2014 coverage. I'm Dave Morris. Thanks for joining us tonight. New at 9, Governor Mary Fallin and Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb both win a second term in office. Also, Steve Russell will be heading to the U.S. House of Representatives, filling that seat vacated by James Lankford. And several other races were declared early, in some cases just minutes after the polls closed. Here to talk about what we know at this point is Nick Trougakos. He's local editor with the Oklahoman. And joining us shortly on the phone will be the Oklahoman's man in Washington, Chris Casteel. But Nick, first, let's start with the biggest race in Oklahoma's midterm election that's been called.
I assume you're meeting the governor's race here.
Referring to Governor Mary Fallin.
That is a race that, we thought might have had a little more traction than it did at the start of the night, and it has turned out to be something of a walkover for the incumbent Republican Governor Mary Fallin.
And you're looking at file video of Governor Mary Fallin right there. We'll have her acceptance speech later tonight.
Yeah, latest polling numbers with well over 3/4 of the precincts reporting show Fallin running about 55% to 41.5% over the Democratic challenger Joe Dorman. It looks like that this will be an easy walk to victory for Fallin, and it looks like this will be an easy walk to victory for most Republican candidates in the state. Much like in our last election in 2012, we are looking at a red sweep here. Our statewide races plus our congressional races, hard to see any Democrats making up the ground that they need to make up with as few precincts left as they have right now.
Talking with the Oklahoman's Nick Trougakos, and before we get away from that governor's race, she released an acceptance declaration, if you will. She says, serving as Oklahoma's governor has been the greatest honor of my life. I am incredibly humbled and thankful. Again, we'll hear more from Governor Mary Fallin later tonight. The State Election Board is reporting Republican candidate for state superintendent Joy Hoffmeister, as you mentioned, another Republican, a solid lead over Democratic candidate John Cox. I believe that's been called, actually.
And the latest from that, from the Cox Watch Party in Muskogee, our Jacqueline Cosgrove reports, Cox has made a concession speech there at that watch party, so it looks like the state superintendent seat will stay in Republican hands. Joy Hoffmeister, who defeated the incumbent Janet Barisi in the June primary, now finds herself in the position of power for our state education department.
And we were watching some file footage from that previous election. Not a lot of surprises this evening. James Lankford will fill the U.S. Senate seat vacated by Tom Coburn. He'll be headed to Washington alongside senior Senator Jim Inhofe. No surprises there.
A couple of easy wins there, and the Lankford race was really interesting. The Associated Press called that race at 7:03 p.m., a mere 3 minutes after the polls closed. I'll have to check the record books for that one, but clearly an easy victory, one that early polling results showed that there was not going to be any doubt in that race.
Our Chris Casteel is on the phone. We'll join him just a second for more analysis on Lankford, Inhofe, and Russell. But first, you mentioned two other races you wanted to get into, a DA's race and a judge's race.
And these are a little bit under the radar, but they're ones that people in the metro area might care about. District Attorney Greg Mashburn, he's over the district
County,
that
right?
Watches over Cleveland County, McLean County. He is coasting to a win over challenger Mike Milstead. Mashburn about 65% of the vote at latest count. Another race that we reported on quite a bit in the lead up to the elections was an Oklahoma County District Judge race. Donald Deason was running up against a man named Arenthal Denson. And at one point, Deason went to court to sue to get his opponent kicked off the ballot because he felt like their names were confusingly similar. He didn't need help from the courts because Judge Deason looks like he'll hold his seat, 77% of the vote right now.
Interesting story, and that's among some of the interesting stories you can find in tomorrow's Oklahoman. Nick, we're going to shift gears to Chris Casteel, but before I let you go, thanks for your help tonight. We certainly appreciate that. I know it's a busy night at the Oklahoman's news desk.
No problem.
And you'll be back at 10 o'clock. All right, meanwhile, Lankford, Inhofe, Russell, these are name brands in Oklahoma politics, and another familiar face joins me now from Washington, D.C., Chris Casteel. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks.
Well, no surprises there in those three names, huh?
No, none at all. As soon as Lankford won the primary over T.W. Shannon back in June, he was headed to the U.S. Senate to replace Senator Tom Coburn, who was there for since 2004 and decided to resign with 2 years left on the term. Set off a bit of a domino effect in Oklahoma Republican politics this year. But you had Lankford running for Coburn's seat, leaving the U.S. House to do that. That obviously left Lankford's seat open. You had a pretty crowded Republican primary to fill Lankford's seat. Steve Russell, the retired Army officer, author, former state senator, came out of that primary, runoff primary against Corporation Commissioner Patrice Douglas, and once he came out of that runoff in late August, that one was pretty much over with too. These are just Republican seats in a very red state right now in what looks like to be a very Republican year in President Obama's 6th year in office.
We mentioned Republican Jim Inhofe. He is turning 80. He'll be one of the more senior senators now. He'll be 86 at the end of the term. You know, Adam Kemp reported earlier, Chris, that Senator Inhofe entered tonight to the Rocky theme song.
You know, you may remember, I think he had, quadruple bypass surgery last year, about a year ago. I think it was late October, sometime during the government shutdown, 2013. And just, you know, the vigor that he came back with was really just kind of astounding. Last week, I talked to him on the phone, and he was in Jordan, going to the border of Syria, you know, just to kind of see, just to check out the whole U.S., operation against ISIS. I mean, this is a guy who's like you said, he's 80 next month, and if he gets through 4 years of this 6-year term that he won tonight, he will be the longest-serving U.S. senator in state history. There's two that have 24 years, Don Nichols and Elmer Thomas, and he'll pass him. He was actually sworn in early when he won for his first term in 1994. So if he just makes it to November of what would it be, 2018, he'll be the longest and the oldest ever too. So I don't, you know, it's pretty amazing. Then he's got the young Langford, 46 years old. I think he'll be 46 going into January's con. And it looks like, Dave, if all these predictions hold, if Republicans pick up as many seats as the national projections have them picking up, that Langford and Inhofe will be going into the next Congress in January as part of a Republican majority there.
We're chatting, as you can see, on the phone here with Chris Casteel. He's in Washington, D.C. tonight. Yeah, I'll just go over there and check on ISIS when I'm 79. It's impressive.
He really goes overseas quite a bit. He really, I mean, he's really just a road warrior. You know, he goes to a lot of military bases, domestic military bases. Goes to Africa a lot. We've written about that, and goes to Afghanistan, and used to go to Iraq. You know, and we still had more of a presence there. So last week he was in Jordan, he was in the Ukraine, and he was in Lithuania.
Well, after tonight, Chris, you'll get back to writing about politics as usual once we get past the election cycle here. And let's talk James Langford, because his decision to run for state senate means Oklahoma City will have a freshman representing it, I believe, for the third time since 2007. That's
a good point. This is the third time. Mary Fallon was elected to represent that district, which is most of Oklahoma County, and then it's got Pottawatomie and Seminole counties in it. She was elected in 2006. 4 years later, left to run for governor. Langford wins that, comes out of nowhere to win that seat in 2010. 4 years later, he's gone. So Oklahoma City, arguably the most important district in Oklahoma. I'm sure Tulsa would give me some argument about that, but Oklahoma City has had a freshman congressman, this 3 times, as you said, since 2007. I think Steve Russell will hit the ground running. He's not some kid. He's a retired Army officer. He had some state legislative experience, but it's you still just have to learn your way around in this town. That's just all there. Yeah, everybody does, and so we'll have a very young delegation in ways. We've got 2 freshmen now, Mark Wayne Mullen, Jim Bridenstine. So then we'll have Steve Russell. But we've also got 2 very experienced members in the House. Tom Cole of Moore, very influential.
And no surprise for him winning tonight either.
No, none at all. And Frank Lucas, who is the longest-serving House member from Oklahoma. He's been in the House since 1994. He's chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. Very, very seasoned veteran. So it's a good mix. It's good mix of the influential veterans and the up-and-coming young ones.
Fantastic coverage, as always, from our man in Washington, Chris Casteel. Chris, I'll let you get back to some politics, perhaps some Wizards basketball. I know you're a big fan.
Wizards and the Thunder.
Absolutely.
Love them both.
Chris, thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
All right, Dave. Glad to do it. Take care.
And stay with us throughout the night on NewsOK.com. Nick Trougakos will be back at 10 o'clock for an update. And Chris Casteel, you can find his coverage in tomorrow's newspaper as well. Follow along on social media tonight at #OKVotes2014. Complete election results from the state election board. You can find those photos from earlier today and tonight's watch parties, and we'll have video online later from candidates' acceptance and concession speeches. We will be back at 10 o'clock later tonight. Thanks for joining us.